Right. It's 2 p.m. Sydney time, so let's get it started. Welcome to the webinar about systems to scale your business with BISCIT. I am Clarissa Campos, New South Wales and ACT manager, and I'll be your host today. Thank you so much for joining us. It will be a very good discussion. So, just before we get started, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land where I'm holding this webinar from, which is the Wabagal people in New South Wales. So, we pay our respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. And I'd also like to welcome any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islanders that are joining us today. Today we'll have BISCIT talking about, the amazing systems and customizations that they do for the manufacturing and mets companies. And before we get started, I just wanted to highlight a few things about the webinar. So this webinar is being recorded and will be also available for on-demand viewing on the Osman YouTube channel. So if there's anything that you want to rewatch or need to review in the future, you will receive the link as part of your registration. And also there will be a Q&A towards the end of Matt's presentation. So if you have any questions for Matt, please pop them into the Q&A box that's in the bottom of the Zoom, on the Zoom page. And we'll definitely open the floor for that after the presentation. So let's get it started. So this webinar today, it's all about ERP systems that will be able to scale your business with confidence. Matt's companies are always, have a strong ability that are not totally always being present or being met with their systems, their financial ERPs, and their requirements. So today they will be delving about how, last minute jobs, budgets that are not met, and supply chain surprises so that those problems don't get on your way when it comes to growing your companies. So the right ERP partner, selecting the right company, it's not only about selecting the best technology, but it's also about, how those systems will be integrated and in place so that you don't have any outblown costs or your reputation doesn't get on the way with your clients. So Matt will be explaining all about it in a minute, and he will be talking about Epicor Kinetic. That is the #1 rated mixed mode ERP in the market for manufacturing companies by G2. And the system quotes accurately and also orders and delivers everything that it promises. So just a little bit on Matt before he gets started. So Matt Elliott, he's the Chief Growth Officer at BISCIT. He has over 30 years of experience in enterprise software, spanning across product development, consulting, and commercial leadership across Australia and also Asia Pacific. As the Chief Growth Officer, Matt is bringing his expertise in ERP, supply chain, and data analytics to help Matt's companies operate with greater confidence and clarity. A hands-on commercial leader, Matt has also a consistent track record of helping businesses get real, measurable value from their technology investments. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, Matt, and over to you.
Thank you, Clarissa, and thanks to Osman for hosting this event and for giving us an opportunity to share BISCIT's capabilities. So just a quick introduction for those of you that don't know us. So BISCIT is an Australian company. We have 1,600 customers in 40 countries across 4 continents. We're established by Greg Hislop, our CEO and founder, in 2002. Headquarters is here in the Hunter Valley. We have 70 staff, or more than 70 staff now, and we specialize in providing enterprise systems for manufacturing and engineering firms, and in this space, the METS companies. So the system that we take to market here in Australia is the Epicor system. So Epicor is more than 50 years old now, and it has 50 years of manufacturing DNA built into it. It's actually the combination of a finance system and a manufacturing system that was integrated more than 30 years ago now. And it's been consistently rated in the top 5 ERPs globally for many years. And it's for people that make, move, and sell things. So it's not a generic ERP. It's specific for people who make, or companies that make physical things and then ship them to their customers and then support them, etc. So that's the difference between Epicor and a regular finance-oriented ERP, where you've got to go and buy lots of extra modules to turn it into something fit for purpose for manufacturers. And as evidence of this, and we've been in Gartner Magic Quadrants, etc., for quite some time, but from a financial standpoint, we've got a lot of credibility in the financial space. So if you're multi-country, multi-currency, multi-site, your finances are handled inherently in Epicor Kinetic. But it also has in the same platform the ability to manufacture across many different manufacturing modes. So, and again, we've been rated the #1 mixed mode manufacturing system by G2 and many others beside. In Australia, some of our customers in the Met space, people like Bradkin, McClanahan, Jaws, National Group, etc., Sharp Engineering up in Brisbane. They're all people that have relied on Epicor now for quite some time, and in many cases, 10 to sometimes 20 years worth of experience in these organizations with Epicor. So Highvis is one of our local customers, local in the sense that they're both in the Hunter Valley with us. And in terms of mining, safety is their focus. So whether it's blasting information, whether it's various colored cones around the place so that you can navigate a mine site safely, you'll see their product all over a number of different mine sites. We've actually had them as a customer for 10 years now. And recently, and when I say recently in that context, it's about 4 or 5 years ago now, they migrated to the cloud, which enabled them and their remote workforce, which is all over Australia, to see everything from quoting to all the way through the manufacturing process, to understand from a customer's standpoint where something is on the shop floor, where it is at every part of the process, and then a comprehensive set of analytics for executives to manage that business. So recently, and this is in the last 12 months, they have been exceeding 93% on-time delivery. So when they make a promise, they're more certain than ever that they can deliver on that promise. And one of the other pieces recently was going from quote to shop floor in literally minutes. So that's helping to evolve their business. So from an Epicor standpoint, the platform, again, is 100% designed for manufacturing. So there's no generic workflows, no unnecessary modules. If you're make to order, engineered to order, configure to order, and there's many other modes, that's just a few. It's one platform that provides a complete set of capabilities to not just deliver product, but to do all of your financials and all of your reporting in as well. So shop floor integration, but there's no need for integration. It's part of the core product, actually. And if you are multi-site, multi-company, multi-plant, then all of that is embedded into that same platform. Not an extra set of modules, it's the same platform. So this lowers total cost of ownership over time because you're integrating less and configuring more. You can take upgrades easily and just get on with business. So some of the outcomes we've seen from manufacturers that have switched to Kinetic is reducing work in progress by 25%. And in terms of order accuracy, and this is something we'll be focusing on in a minute with a bit of a demonstration, you'll see that it's not just the order accuracy, it's being able to cost an order accurately and understand your margin. That's one of the key pieces that we're just about to explore. And then yeah, from a multi-site perspective, making sure that everything's in that same platform so it's visible to everybody on every site. So today we're going to walk through 3 different demonstrations. They're all very short. But we're going to walk through quoting quite comprehensively in 2 different flavors. One's a bit of a vanilla flavor, and the other one, as you'll see, is very full-featured. And the other one is, and then we're going to move on to supply chain automation. Then we'll touch on production planning and just look at a couple of cybersecurity credentials to finish off with. So from a quoting perspective, being able to rapidly quote across any mode of manufacture in the same platform is one of the strengths of Epicor. Making it very transparent what your margins are going to be, and making sure that making sure you can actually deliver. All of those cost calculations are very easy and evident, and that's partly because it's got an embedded finance system. So it's not a separate finance system, it's embedded in the manufacturing system itself. Or the other way to say that is it's just one big core platform. So it's one configurable system for everybody in your organization, from sales through engineering, production, warehouse, delivery. Even your rental organization can be on this single platform as well. And then your finance people and also your executives. So from a quoting perspective, I'm just going to start a quick demonstration now. And this is showing margins and how we're protecting margins. And then I'm going to do a second demonstration shortly after this.
Let's get into the quoting process now. So how can our customers leverage our embedded opportunity and quote entry screen to help them gain access into costing information? How can we leverage the embedded tools to help give us the best insight into that process? So let's go ahead and create a quote from scratch here and get into it. So I'm just going to plug in who the customer is and save that off so it assigns me a quote number, and then we'll get going on now. How do I drive information in here from a true engineering quoting perspective? We'll first take a quick peek at the simplest way possible to create a quote by adding a part that we already have information on, a price list on, and then we'll talk about the notion of part on the fly and leverage something that a lot of you are probably used to, that same as accept type quoting experience. I want a module from here, a component from here, an item from here, but I want to combine that into something new, maybe a one-off, maybe something we've never done before. And then we'll build on that and bring in Epicor CPQ, that configure price quote experience with a really nice 3D visual model to help our sellers and customers best purchase and best get an understanding of what products we offer. So let's start with that simple flow. I'll start here and type in something like a BISCIT 200 ml. And what this is just a multi-level assembly that I have some data on in the background of the system. And when I add this part, you'll notice that it automatically brings in a price list. I can say, hey, what quantity am I looking at here? So I can type in that expected quantity that say they want 10 of these. And when I save that off, obviously all the math happens in the background of bringing that from 1 to 10. Obviously, this is a part that I quote every day, all day. I don't have to change anything, but if I did need to get into the details, we have this engineering button built in right here where I can go in and now I can start getting an understanding of what am I quoting? What is the customer getting with this? Maybe they have some specific questions on BOM information or routing information or work instruction information or anything like that I can drill in. But before we go there, as we're quoting this, a lot of our engineer to order larger capital equipment customers are leveraging the worksheet to give them an understanding of, well, where are we sitting from a cost perspective, right? I haven't done anything from the engineering side, so we should see zeros here for this frame assembly. But when I go in to the worksheet, you can see this becomes really a live, process calculator for cost, where I can see all my different costing buckets, burden, labor, material, et cetera here. And what it's going to do is it's going to take all the information when we add it, put it through a markup or profit-based calculation, let me know what the totals are, take into consideration my sales reps commission or my multiple reps or my different people that are involved, all the commission there. And then what it's going to do in this field is going to give me a suggestion on what it thinks we should charge this. Obviously, I have that 310.50 in there from a price list that's tied to that part, since we're talking about something that's more of a repetitive sales process. Again, I know that's not the process for our engineered order, maybe on the spare parts aftermarket side, but it's going to allow me to now see what are those costs as I add them in here. So let's go ahead and head back to our Bait and Details tab and get into the engineering so we can add some detail to see that cost rolling up. So when I hit my engineering button, that's going to bring me into our quote engineering screen. So now I can very easily go in and, obviously I'm changing hats here. I have that skeleton key access, pass it over to one of my engineers for them to build out that bill of materials. And again, since this is a part that we've quoted often before, I just want to pull in those details. I can do that by right-clicking there and hitting Get Details, and I can pull in the most recent revision. And when I do that, that's going to fill out all of my sub-assemblies, operations, and raw materials that I need. I can see them in a tree view here. If I prefer rows and columns to look at those different various locations, I can do that as well. But as I did that, you can see these are all bringing in unit costs, a really expensive bolt here. It's also bringing in things like my labor rates and burden rates from a production or setup perspective on the labor side of things. So it's now pulling all that in along with all of the standard times and sub-assemblies, and those have their embedded operations and materials within them as well. But now that I've done that, and I can go to the worksheet right from here, I can now see all those costs starting to roll up.
So that was just a quick taste.
Let's get into
a quick taste of pulling together a very simple quote and looking at the first taste of bill of materials. So if you want to get more sophisticated than that, then, and you can go and feel free to play with this after we've finished. That URL down the bottom is live. So you can go to kbmax.com, which is the acquisition that this came from. It's all integrated now, as you'll see. But that demonstration that we're just about to step into now is going to take us through a very visual way of bringing your customers in and engaging with them in a quotation process. So I will just start this next piece.
We have Epicor CPQ, and we're looking at an excavator here. So you can see I have a really nice 3D model that I can interact with. I can zoom in, zoom out. I can get all the different data that I want just by looking at this thing of how I've configured it. And on the left, you can see I have a tree view giving me high-level information about this unit. I can start interacting and making selections based on what I want. You can see that 3D model in real time is updating, adding and removing those cab lights as I select that. It adds the mirror. I can even throw air conditioning into this item if I want to. But when I get into the data now, again, just adding all kinds of different stuff here, making selections. What's happening here is Epicor CPQ is a rules and logic based system, where as I'm making selections, it's handling a lot of the add this to my image, but also in the background, what it's doing is it's going in and it's actually now building out a routing as well as bill of materials for me. I can create a quote from this or an order from this. It's going to build out that full entire method of manufacturing for me. So when I go back in here, I could create, again, another, we'll do the CPQ-excavator. When I bring that in now, and I go to the engineering side for that, it brings in the full bill of materials for that item. So I now have something to talk about. And obviously the configurator is, building this out for me, but as I pull those details in, I can see everything that I just added. And I'll bring the description over here so we can see. So I have the air conditioning, the seat belt, cab lights, cab mirrors, boom lights, all the stuff that I selected. It's automatically adding that in here for me now. And it can even update things like specific types of inspections that certain customers might require. It can even extend assembly times based on what I'm adding, or extend different things based on different operations or processes, based on using certain materials or having certain things selected on that configurator side. So it's really automating that entire process. Obviously, engineers are heavily involved in creating the logic and the rules within that, but CPQ really takes a lot of our customers to the next level. So there we go.
Okay, so you can see that from a very visual standpoint, the thing that wasn't obvious there is that the rules that are created to make that particular piece of machinery, that excavator, they're all drag and drop. So you don't need to be a programmer. You do need to understand a bit of logic, but if you're an engineer, you're going to be able to create that. So you can put it in your customer's hands. They can configure the product they want, and then the price is changing dynamically. The method of manufacture is being created. The bill of materials is being created. So it's a very seamless process to go from quote where the customer is confident about what they're getting because they're seeing it all the way through. So one of the next steps is then production planning. And Epicor, it's potentially the jewel in the crown, just as to how flexible the production planning piece is. It's not something we'll be looking at today just because of time, but this is an amazing piece of technology when you start to get into it. And it does mean that if you've got something urgent from a mine site that's come in, you will understand the consequences of swapping one job for a set of other jobs, both the economic consequences, the time frame consequences. It's an excellent tool to make sure that you are planning your production so that you can make as many of your customers happy at the same time, which is often the juggling match. And this is often lacking in other ERPs. So this piece in particular, again, it's core to the platform. It's not an option and isn't an optional module. It's a core capability within the Kinetic platform. So I wanted to finish with two pieces. One was just in the supply chain world to look at a piece of a very interesting piece of technology, which is going to use artificial intelligence, going to use machine learning as part of it. And it will become very self-explanatory when we step into this third and final demonstration as to just how powerful this can be for your business. So by the time we get to this, we would have taken $2.9 million of spend down to $2.3 million worth of spend, and we'll do that in about 7 minutes. So I'll just run this final piece.
We've got a really good tool that we call Epicor IP&O, which is just inventory planning and optimization. And what I can do with this is I can open up a project. And essentially what this means is it's just the way that you want to roll your forecast. So I want to roll my forecast for these aftermarket and spare parts by product group, then down to individual product, then down to the customer. And so when I open this up, I can start seeing things like, oh, okay, well, here is like either at the customer, or if I open this up at the product group level, like my fabricated product level, or if I open that up even further, I can see things at, let's say, the site level, which I'm seeing right here. But what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing my history, and I told the system to go back about 3 years. And what it's doing is it's giving me a forecast. And so here is my forecast, either at the entire customer level or group level or individual SKU level, right? And when I opened this up, the software automatically forecasted for me. And what it did was it leveraged AI and machine learning to give me the most optimal statistical forecasting method. So as you can see here, for this part, the DSS 1020, it chose double exponential smoothing at a 2%. But for this part, it did a winter's add at a 222 over a 12-month moving average. And this item, it did single exponential smoothing at a 58%. Now, where it's coming up with the math and how it chose this quote unquote winner is it looks at things like what the absolute cumulative error is for the forecast, what that cumulative percentage error is, what's the standard deviation, what's the coefficient of variation, what's the historical total, what's the forecast totals, what's the forecast versus history change. So that's where it's coming up with these numbers, and that's where I'm getting my forecast here. If you're more visual in nature, I can be viewing this in a graphical view as well. And what's really nice is I can even come in and adjust my forecast. So if I click adjust, here's the forecast. Well, maybe you know that in January, you're going to get a big spike. So I can manually adjust that And then it's even tracking where I manually adjusted things out. And then I can also bring in snapshots. So let's say you got a customer specific forecast. I could even bring that in, and in black is the customer specific forecast. And now what I can do is I can create a consensus forecast with that. So maybe in February, instead of what the forecast is telling me, I want to specifically use the customer forecast. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'll adjust that on down, and then that makes my forecast there. And then all I need to do is come into here, and I'm going to say import the forecast into Kinetic, and that brings that forecast right into Epicor Kinetic. And again, that's leveraging statistical processing. But as we know, when we forecast parts, that creates supply chain and inventory queues. And it also creates, demand against our supply. So within Epicor IP&O, we also have inventory optimization capabilities. So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at my inventory. I can see my live inventory is running at about an 86% service level, which costs us about 2.9 or 3 million to carry that inventory. And it costs us about $843,000 to operate that inventory. Well, when I look into my drivers, I can see, well, that.
So in the interest of time, we'll move on. But we've got a lot of sophistication, and as you saw, it's very easy to use in this particular product. And the end state of that that demonstration was to take inventory down from a 2.9 carry to a 2.3 carry. So significant cost saving in a fairly short period of time. So I'll just wrap up with a few key messages around cybersecurity, because this is getting more critical every day. So Epicor has a wide range of partnerships with tier 1 cybersecurity providers, but they also have a dedicated team, which is not part of IT, not part of product. It's a dedicated team inside of Epicor for cybersecurity and the discipline within it. And that's who manages the partnerships and relationships. There's so much more to this platform. We didn't even touch on carbon accounting, the specifics of production scheduling, multi-company, multi-site orders. Again, with limited time, we didn't get to much of this. If you do want to touch on any of these topics or any other related topics, please reach out. We'd love to have a discussion around you, your requirements, and get to understand you a bit better. Thanks, Clarissa.
Thanks so much, Matt. That was great. Really good to see how the solution is customizable and makes the quoting so much easier. And literally, I'm taking the quoting and the forecasting as well to the next level. So thank you very much. So now I'd like to open up the floor for questions. So if you do have a question, please pop them in the chat box. The first question that I received is, what teams are you seeing with AI in the ERP world?
So can you repeat that? What
teams or topics are you seeing with AI in your software or market?
Yeah, no, that's it's an interesting question. A lot of vendors have chosen to have AI operate on top of their platform, like having icing on cake. We chose to bake in the AI to our platform, so it's actually prevalent across the whole platform, and it understands all of the language of manufacturing. It understands all the nuance of measurement and advanced units of measurement. It understands CAD drawings and how they work. So Epicor has taken, I suppose, a bit of a fundamentally different approach to not focus on just a task. It's got agentic AI in it, but it's really at the core of the product rather than sprinkling it around the edges. That's really the core difference between Epicor's approach with AI and the general marketplace.
Great. Thank you very much, Matt. Um, the other question relates to how long has Epicor been in Australia, and what are other projects besides the ones that you've mentioned that you've worked with?
Yeah, so in terms of our longevity in Australia, so BISCIT's been around since 2002, but Epicor, it was actually under a different name at that point in time. It was rebranded, was back in the 80s, actually. That's how long it's been in Australia. So it's been it's been in this marketplace for many decades now. And what was the other part of the question? Sorry.
If there were any other clients or interesting projects in Australia that you would like to mention?
Yeah, I mean, but I talked about Hi-Vis a little bit. McClenaghan's is probably a name that's fairly well known. They actually use Epicor globally, and one of the things that they use quite a bit is that multi-site capability. So they've got manufacturing in 3 key regions around the world, Australia being one of them, up at Cameron Park. And the ability for them to see everything across all of those sites, literally across the world, to understand how they can make sure that they're on time to get a delivery of the very large things that they manufacture. That's one of the original reasons that they went through that process in Pennsylvania and then Australia. That's where their global headquarters is. But we've been working with them here in Australia for some time. They use our warehouse product. So one of the things we contribute to Epicor is the warehouse product. So that's the application that goes on the scanners that literally links Epicor in real time to those scanners, not a separate application, not a separate database, but a real-time link. So if you scan a part, either to get it to a job on the shop floor or putting it in and out of inventory, that's a BISCIT invention, and that's one of the reasons that we are famous in the Epicor world.
Right. I imagine it makes so much easier if you have one system across all your operations, not only in one country, but across the globe, and you can actually see data in real time. So that's fantastic to hear that local clients using it at a global level. And I've got another question here about how does Epicor compare to other industry ERP softwares, and what is the journey to implementation? How does that look like?
Yeah, so again, we are very focused on the manufacturing world and mixed mode manufacturing. So just in that simple demonstration, we saw elements of make to stock, we saw elements of of engineer to order. It is one platform for all of those modes. So that's one of the significant differences. The other difference is that, that is really what it is built for. It's evolved, and there have been some acquisitions across the way, but they all get embedded into the core platform, which I think is one of the interesting things about Epicor, the speed at which that happens. It's atypical in the ERP industry to do it as rapidly as they tend to do it. So in terms of time to market for somebody implementing Epicor, there's a 2-week workshop phase that we go through to determine what your needs and requirements actually are to implement Epicor. And it can be as fast as 3 months, depending on how many companies, how many countries, how many currencies. It can be a multi-year experience, but typically it's much less than that. That would be a very complex customer that would be going live. So typically it's in the range of months.
Right. That's really good to hear. Fast paced approach. And the last question is regarding the team. So, how experienced is your team in Australia?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're very fortunate to have a number of team members that have got 10 plus years of experience. So just in the Hunter Valley alone, we've got a number of those people. Greg, I think, has got about coming up for 30 years of experience with Epicor, and he's managed to collect a unique bunch of people that are focused on the platform and also focused on customer outcomes. So talking to high vis as we do from time to time at different events, that we get consistent feedback across their organization, and we see them pretty regularly, that when we're needed, we're there. But also, we don't need to be in their business all the time. It's just when necessary. And I think that's a key piece too. We want to make sure that customers get up and running and self-sufficient as quickly as possible. We would rather have more customers that are more happy than more consultants out there working. That's a key piece within our business. So we're very focused on customer outcomes.
Great. Thank you so much, Matt. Great presentation and really good product and solution integrating from end to end. If you want to learn more about BISCIT and chat more about the solutions, they will be exhibiting at GRX next week. We have the countdown on in Perth next Tuesday. So please feel free to pop up in the booth. They'll also be giving a talk, and I hope to see you at GRX or in the next webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today. See you.
See you at GRX.
Thanks, Matt.
Cheers.